Chair, I think we're ready to go, if you are.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience. Today, we will go ahead and open up this meeting of the Cannabis Compliance Board, meeting of December 12th, 2023. Can we have a roll call, please?
Of course. Justice Douglas? Dr. Young?
Present.
Member Merritt?
Present.
Vice Chair Durrett?
Present.
Chair Guzman-Freilich?
Present.
Everybody's present.
Thank you. Okay. All right, before we go into public comment, I want to just take a minute and welcome and acknowledge our new Executive Director, Mr. Jimmy Hum. He comes to us from the Governor's Office of Economic Development. He has an impressive resume, and we are excited to have him on board. So if you see him, be sure to tap him and welcome him into our family. With that, we'll go ahead and open up the public comment. We'll start with the South. Is there any public comment in the South?
Chair, just one moment. I need to read the joining information into the record.
Oh, thank you.
To provide public comment via telephone, call 669-444-9171. Enter webinar ID 825-8461-7886, followed by passcode 634405.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and open up the public comment in Las Vegas. If you could come up to the podium if you have a public comment, we're going to go ahead and limit that public comment to 2 minutes. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. It is my pleasure to be here this morning.
Could you just state your name for the record, please? Thank you.
My name is Aisha Goins, AESHAGOINS, Black Joy Consulting. I'm here on behalf of the NAACP Las Vegas 1111. I just want to put on the record that the NAACP resolution on cannabis supports legalization, good working conditions, and access to the industry. The success of social equity being attached to the consumption lounge is a concern for the NAACP. We are watching and working and talking with those licensees, and access to capital has been a deterrent. Social equity not having any money has been a concern. There isn't anything in the policies that doesn't allow for the Cannabis Compliance Board to foster relationships with social equity applicants or with those who have been left out of the industry. And the NAACP is encouraging the Cannabis Compliance Board to consider strategies that could bring in new businesses, new licenses for those people that have been left out of the industry. Just as a personal note, I have been doing this work now for so many years. The business started in Nevada, and I had to take some time off after the legislative session, specifically because I was just disenchanted with the way the industry handled the underserved community as it relates to the cannabis industry. My heart was broken, and I felt like there was no way possible that the social equity would be able to find themselves in the Nevada cannabis industry. I feel that right now, it has not changed. It's just that if I don't regroup, get up, dust myself off, then the work stops and the work must continue. I am looking forward to partnering with the new director. I hope that we really look forward at some new innovative options. I really do believe Nevada is in a great position to be still the leader in the social equity. It has not been done right. They continue to try to do it right. There is no state to necessarily model because each state is individually different. And I think that positions us, because we do cannabis compliance right, I think it positions us to be creative and be thoughtful and really bring the community in and do it the way it needs to be done for this state. I encourage the Cannabis Compliance Board to consider joint ventures. Nothing in policy says that you can't say yes to joint ventures, but I do know that it is not the industry space to move forward without your blessing. But nothing in policy says that you can't bless it. And I really strongly hope that you consider that as you move forward and we're going into the new year. Thank you again for this time. It's my pleasure to serve, not just the Nevada cannabis industry, but my community abroad. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good morning. My name is Christina Ullman, Christina Ullman, and I'm the co-founder and the president of the Chamber of Cannabis. We wanted to formally welcome Executive Director Jimmy Hum to the role and to also welcome Chair Guzman-Froilock to your role. 3 years ago, my colleagues and I saw an opportunity to form a trade association that focused on driving commerce forward, but doing it more inclusively than the first 2 license rounds. We also saw an opportunity to restore justice by creating new laws to help those that were negatively impacted by archaic drug laws. Through those actions, we've been able to positively impact our community and the people who make it up. We've done that by organizing industry professionals, participating in public comment and workshops, and by leading the campaign for AB 341 and SB 277, 2 bills that support economic development from bud tender to billionaire and evolve cannabis commerce and tourism. I can assure you that we are very intentional in supporting what is best for the we, so that Nevada businesses and professionals are not just able to survive, but to grow. These past few years have not been good for the majority of the people working in the industry, between the decrease in overall revenue generated month over month, to the increase in layoffs, and to the amount of money owed in accounts receivable. We have an opportunity to improve the outdated and ineffective regulations. Other states in the unlicensed market continue to take market share in Nevada because we're still using regulations from 2017. We can do better. We want to extend ourselves as a resource to the board for anything you might need. The board of directors at the Chamber of Cannabis and our members touch every single sector of the industry, and we come correct with concerns and solutions. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a few of our board members so you can become more familiar with the role that we play in the market and the actions that we'll be taking in 2024 to ensure that the folks building the industry have a better year than 2023. I'd like to now turn it over to our secretary and chairwoman of our Commerce Committee, Ms. Abby Kaufman.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Abby Kaufman, as Tina mentioned, and as the secretary of the board of directors for the Chamber of Cannabis, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the new executive director, Director Hum. For some background on the Chamber of Cannabis, and as Tina mentioned, our organization's work centers around 3 guiding principles: justice, commerce, and community. And as the chair of the Commerce Committee, I'll be speaking to this area today, but you can think of these like a 3-legged stool, because if you take away one of them, or if one isn't as sturdy as the other, you're left with something that's really unstable. And that's kind of where the industry's at. Based on data from the Department of Taxation, taxable cannabis sales for the 2023 fiscal year were down 12% from 2022, which were already down 4% from 2021. So while the cause of this double-digit decline is multifaceted, to say the least, commerce is defined as the act of buying and selling, particularly on a large scale. And when it comes to the buying and selling of cannabis, the CCB determines how consumers are able to buy cannabis, how operators are able to sell cannabis, and even how operators are able to buy and sell cannabis from each other. So right now, though, consumers are still choosing to buy cannabis from unlicensed operators, and unlicensed operators haven't been given ample opportunity to legally sell cannabis. Meanwhile, operators are also wasting thousands of dollars on redundant labels and packaging. And arguably worst of all, employees are being laid off and bills aren't being paid because operators aren't paying each other. So that's not exactly a picture of stability. The primary purpose of the Commerce Committee is to serve as a liaison between all segments of the industry, whether they have a storefront or not. And in order to address industry concerns and advocate for solutions to both our regulators and lawmakers. So over the course of 2024, you'll see us here representing the interests of our members and attempting to work alongside the CCB to impact change at a regulatory level. And we will then use the outcome of these efforts to identify which legislative changes to pursue in 2025. So just as I welcome all members of Nevada's cannabis industry to contribute to these efforts and share their concerns so we can best advocate for them, I welcome and encourage the CCB to consider the chamber as a resource, and I look forward to seeing what we can accomplish together in the new year. Thank you.
I'm a little bit shorter than Abby. Good morning. For the record, my name is Bree Padilla, Bripadilla, and I have the pleasure and honor of serving as the Chamber's first executive director. This will be my second year in the seat going into 2024. And during my tenure with the Chamber of Cannabis, I have served as our communications director, our secretary, and then the executive director. During my tenure, I have had the incredible blessing and opportunity to interface with a significant majority of the state's operators. And I can tell you from anecdotal evidence to data, that what my colleagues have just said is the case. And Executive Director Hum, you're coming in at a time when we need you, and we need your expertise, and your work precedes you in the best of ways. So we truly do look forward to working not just you, but our entire board. I've been very grateful for our new chairwoman and our co-chair, Rihanna Durrett, and her advocacy for the industry. I highly encourage you to lean on co-chair Durrett's contextual understanding of the industry, and also to lean on me. I have had heard testimonies from our operators. So if you have a question about an operator that might be pulling out of the market because they haven't been paid, or our equity operators who have come to me concerned because of predatory licensing schemes that want to turn them into tokens, I have that information, and they are willing and ready to talk to make action and change happen. We understand there are boundaries of law and rule, and that is why we show up consistently for our industry and for our organization. And we look forward to working with you all in 2024. Thank you for your time.
Morning, board. Greetings, new executive director. My name is Chandler Cooks, newly appointed board of director to the Chamber of Cannabis and also owner of Greenwood Investment Group LLC. We were awarded a prospective social equity cannabis consumption lounge license. I'm speaking today to address the plight of social equity licensees here in Nevada. As we navigate the relatively uncharted waters, we must do so with a blend of foresight, empathy, and patience. I believe the ultimate focus of this industry is finding that optimal balance between equitable opportunities for emerging players and maintaining a stable, competitive, and efficient market environment. And I recognize that the board does not want to delay or hinder the progress of prospective licensees. However, I want to highlight a crucial aspect of the current licensing landscape that merits attention. We are witnessing a distinct disparity between two groups: independent consumption lounge licensees and those attached to existing retail dispensaries. The disparity, I believe, is not born of intention, but rather unforeseen consequence of the current regulatory framework. Retail dispensary consumption lounges hold a considerable advantage in this market. These entities already established in the industry possess robust infrastructure, a ready inventory, and substantial working capital. These advantages enable them to pivot seamlessly into the lounge sector, a transition groomed by financial stability and operational readiness. The concept of social equity is not just a policy, but a commitment to rectify historical inequalities. It is a recognition that certain groups have been disproportionately affected by past legislation and societal norms. Therefore, it's not just a question of granting licenses, but of ensuring that these licensees are given a fair chance to succeed. The concept of a cannabis lounge is not just an innovative business model, but it's a bold venture and a new frontier. Lounges are experimental, innovative, and understandably susceptible to initial mistakes and learning curves. And the social equity licensees are pioneers who lack not the spirit, but often the initial capital and business acumen necessary to cultivate these ventures within the constrained time frame we were given. It is not merely a race against time, but a battle against systemic barriers. We licensees need the leeway to learn, adapt, and eventually soar. The establishment of a cannabis lounge is no menial task. It requires a confluence of intricate knowledge, astute business acumen, and a powerful network, and essentially significant capital. Many social equity licensees, including myself, often come from backgrounds that lack these resources, and we find ourselves at a daunting disadvantage. So in light of this, I propose a two-pronged approach. First, consideration and the requested extensions of the timeline for these social equity licensees to establish their lounges. This extension is not an act of leniency, but a recognition of the unique challenge and learning curves involved in such a bold venture. Second, the provision of financial resources to social equity licensees in the future, possibly establish agency-funded grants specifically for social equity licensees to cover these startup costs. This could come from a partnership with the private financial institution to provide low-interest loans guaranteed by state funds, or simply remove the requirement of $200,000 for this license type. Whatever the route is, it should involve access to funding, the tool that's essential for bridging the gap between ambition and reality. So I encourage the board to consider these suggestions as vital investments. And by supporting social equity licensees with patience and resources, we're not only upholding the principles of fairness, justice, but also fostering a more innovative and diverse market. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Buffong, for the record, NicoleBuffong. Board Chair Fralick, Vice Chair Durrett, and board members, and welcome Executive Director Hum. My name is, for the record, I am serving my fourth term on the board of directors for the Chamber of Cannabis. I also serve as the National Events Manager and Western Regional Director for Minorities for Medical Marijuana, also known as M4MM. Minorities for Medical Marijuana is a global nonprofit advocacy group that is committed to cultivating a culturally inclusive environment where diversity of thought, experience, and opportunities are valued, respected, appreciated, and celebrated. M4MM has served as a resource to the Nevada community by providing information, referrals, advocacy, and education regarding cannabis legislation, events, activities, initiatives, and decisions. M4MM has been community partners with the Chamber of Cannabis, and in 2021 successfully lobbied to pass HB 341 and managed to get social equity mentioned for the first time in state statute. Last year, we hosted a virtual Nevada town hall in partnership with the CCB to advise the community on how to apply for the consumption venue licenses. M4MM partnered with the Chamber to pass Senate Bill 277. The justice component of that bill truly gives Nevada an opportunity to be leaders in the country. We are waiting on those details from the CCB to be able to share with those in our community that are eager to work in the cannabis industry. If we truly want to mitigate the unlicensed market, then we have to create an easier pathway to the licensed market, especially for those that have committed drug offenses. I'm thrilled to be serving on the Cannabis Advisory Committee Market Participation Subcommittee that begins next month. As a plant medicine advocate who moved from one side of the country to the other just to have access to safe medicine, I am honored to serve as on the subcommittee to bring a diverse and patient-focused voice to the conversation. I look forward to working with you, Executive Director Hum, and the Cannabis Compliance Board in 2024 to learn how my organizations can best support the cannabis community in Nevada.
Morning.
Good morning.
For the record, Timothy Ellis speaking, and I highly do apologize for my presentation at the moment. From the house, I'm a medical cannabis patient, released from the hospital. I had to run down here because I came down to set the record straight. What we just heard, it's a lie. And that's the reason I'm here, to set the record straight. In order to truly mitigate the root cause of this issue, we have to understand what the root cause is. Aisha Goins, root cause of the problem. One gentleman sitting over there, root cause of the problem. Former Director Tyler Clemens, these are his friends. They were placed on the subcommittee. They benefited. He's got a license. He stood right in front of you guys. Not once did he ever declare that he himself is an applicant. He's got a license. Why is the dean of student a licensed? I'm sorry, it's not a conflict of interest because maybe this is normal. This is normal. No way should we give the same people who put us in this situation another chance of putting us back down again. It's not going to happen. The people, what she's supposed to do is apologize to the people what she did. She lied, she manipulated us into believing that was the right path to go. That was it. She owes us an apology to begin with. I'll tell you exactly why she doesn't come around anymore. During the consumption lounge bill presentation by Steve Yeager and Assemblyman at that moment, Chandra Summers spoke because I was in opposition. She was in favor. She gave us the opportunity to meet up, discuss, iron out the issues we have in our community. She didn't want to meet up with me. I went to each and he will tell you how often I chased her for over 2 years. Because they were placed on the chair, they had the powers. They could ignore people like me. They came up with the suggestions in which they benefited. As long as they benefited, and now they are realizing that they led us to a burning house, they're coming back around saying, give us another opportunity over our dead body. I'm going back. I'm going to go change up, and I'll be much more presentable. Thanks for your time. And I'm so sorry you had to deal with this, executive. This is your first day. But this issue right here, I'm a medical patient. None of them were here when we used to get kicked out of this building. We used to stand outside collecting signatures for it to be on the ballot. Initiatives, where were they? I'm asking each and every one of them sitting right there, where were they? Thanks for your time.
Additional public comment in the south? Okay, seeing none, then we'll go to the north. Is there any public comment in Carson City? No public comment in Carson City. We'll go online. Is there any public comment online?
If you wish to provide public comment, click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen if joining by Zoom. If joining by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. We have no online comment.
Thank you. With that, we'll close the public comment section of our agenda. We'll move on to item number 2, which is the meeting minutes approval. This is for consideration of approval of the October 24th, 2023 Cannabis Compliance Board meeting minutes. Is there a motion for the approval? If everybody's had a chance to take a look at them. I'll take a motion.
This is Member Young. Can you hear me? This is Member Young. I move that we approve agenda item 2A, the minutes from October 24th, 2023.
Thank you, Member Young. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, we got a couple of seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to action item number 3. This is the consent agenda. I understand that Member Durrett has pulled one item, which is item number 11. That's TRNV LLC. And this item is the White Pine County jurisdiction item. So we will pull that and come back to that. But for now, I'll take a motion on the remainder of the
Chair,
agenda items,
this is-
which are, yes,
For the record, Chair, this is Member Douglas. I'd ask that you additionally pull item number 1, silver dollar.
we will do that. Do we have anybody representing Silver Dollar present?
Yeah, there's somebody here in the room.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll go ahead and pull item number 1 and item number 11, and we will deal with those next. But first, I'm prepared to hear a motion for the approval of items 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 14 on the consent agenda.
Chair, before we do that, can I make a disclosure?
Yes, please.
Rihanna Durrett, for the record, I wanted to disclose that one of the owners in the Conjurium group is a board on the Cannabis Policy Institute at UNLV, where I'm now the director. This doesn't, this wouldn't impact my judgment in any way.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and hear a motion on the approval of the item stated previously, minus item 1 and 11 that we're pulling.
Chair Freilich, this is Member Douglas. The only question I had, does the 11/5/24 date that we're proposing comport with our meeting schedule for November of next year, the 5th? Because we've moved.
I'm sorry, Member Douglas, I don't think I understand that question.
I'm looking at the
you-
meeting date for November of next year, if that comports with it.
For which item?
No, all the ones that we're going to, there's no dispute about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Okay.
8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14.
I think he just wants to do an extension to the board meeting date in November.
And not knowing what the November meeting date is at this point, because we're having to rearrange our schedules based on meeting rooms. So would we be able to?
We had a proposed meeting date of the 3rd Thursday. If I would make a motion for approval of the items on consent 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 14 for the last day of November 2024 to be safe. That would be my motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Member Durrett, I second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Read on November 5th.
Excuse me, I can't hear whoever's speaking, and can I get a name as well?
This Member Young, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. This is Member Young. Our previous approval extensions were always November 5th, 2024. Now we're going to change this group. I just don't know if that's consistent with what we've done previously.
Member Douglas, for the record, in response to Member Young, since we don't know what our meeting date is, I'm taking to the end of the months to make sure that we be able to extend or not timely.
And what I would recommend then is that we go ahead and use the November 30th deadline for this group. And if we have to come back to the others because we have to give an extension, then we can ask legal if we can do that administratively. And if not, we can always put on an agenda to have that item to basically go back and get all of the um, extensions that we have set for November 5th to come back and vote on that to extend it to November 30th. And this is the fun that we get to have not having our own boardroom. So do we have, does that sound like
Absolutely.
a good plan? Okay. So with that, we've got a motion on the table to approve the extensions until November 30th of 2024. Any additional discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And now we will go to item 1 of this consent agenda, which is the consideration of approval to extend the final inspection deadline for Silver Dollar Distribution LLC. If we could have the representative for Silver Dollar Distribution come up, thank you. And if you have any affirmative presentations, please state your name on the record so we can hear you, and we'll discuss the item. Thank you.
This is Member Douglas, and I'll just cut to the quick to make it easier so we don't. I'm very happy that you've caught up on outstanding indebtedness, that area. The only question I have is we were looking for additional information as to what is going on with perfecting your license, your plan of going forward with building and such. Because we'd asked for it, we really hadn't gotten it. So that's the only thing we need to hear today.
Thank you, Commissioner Douglas. Rusty Graff here on behalf of Empire, Silver Dollar Distribution, we have perfected the license going forward. The problem is that we needed a correspondence from the sheriff in that jurisdiction. And I'm sure his honor is aware of the situation with the sheriff in that jurisdiction. And as soon as that is resolved, I think that we will get our letter of compliance. The equipment's been inspected. The area that we intend on having the license has been inspected. The only thing that we needed was the letter from the sheriff, and due to his uncertainty, that's the reason why we don't have a letter, Your Honor. That's the only thing we're waiting on.
That is responsive to my concern. Chair, I don't think there's anyone down here raising their hands or with concerns. That's the item. So.
Okay. Any additional comments from Silver Dollar?
No, Your Honor, unless anybody has any other questions.
Any additional questions from the board members? And if not, then I am prepared to hear a motion.
Member Douglas, I'd make a motion for approval of this item's extension until the 30th of November, 2024.
Member Merritt, I
Is there a
will
second?
second.
Thank you. We have a first, a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next item that we pulled on the agenda is item number 11 under consent agenda A, and that is the approval to extend the final inspection deadline for TRNV LLC. And this is the adult use retail store for White Pine County jurisdiction. If you could please state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Shane Terry. I'm the manager CEO of TRNB P098 LLC.
Good morning. Do you have any affirmative presentations for us this morning?
Yes, I guess I could. There's really two developments that have come up since I submitted the status report a couple months ago. One of them is I think we've made some pretty solid progress on a business relationship with a group in White Pine. It's a little bit too early to get into the specifics, but we're looking at hopefully being able to formalize that deal in about Q2 of next year and start getting that license on track. And simultaneously, we've been looking at property in and around the city of Ely, which is the only incorporated city in White Pine. And currently the regulations have within the city, you need to be a currently existing medical marijuana holder before you can open up a adult use retail dispensary. As you all know, the regulations change at the state level on the 1st of January to convert all retail licenses to dual licensees. I've been in touch with the city and we're hoping to get the regulations changed to adapt to the new status at the state level. And hopefully at the local level, that will open up some pathways for us to open within the city of Ely. And that's about it. And answer any questions.
I have a question. Do you have a
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if there's a timeline for those regulations in White Pine.
I'm not sure. I just spoke with business licensing as recently as yesterday. And I think the regulations overall probably need to be updated a little bit as we transition from 453 to 678. So we're currently having those discussions, but I wouldn't know if or when it will go to a hearing.
Thank you. Member Dritt.
Member Drett, for the record, how will it be possible to find a retail area outside of the city if there's no retail outside of the city? Will you have to build something outside of the city, and why hasn't that happened already?
I would say when we're just looking at different areas in White Pine, I've explored areas near Great Basin National Park, and really the only place that makes business sense would probably be within the city of Ely.
But you're not going to be able to build within the city, right? Or is it possible you would?
If the regulations change and dual licensees would now qualify, or they would just adapt the regulations when the state changes theirs on 1 January, then yes, we would hopefully be able to qualify under the new regulations.
How many conditional dispensary licenses did your group win in 2018?
We won a total of 7 in 2018.
How many have become final?
1.
Where's that?
In Winnemucca, Nevada.
Oh,
in
I've lived there also. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any additional questions from the board members? Okay, hearing none, then we'll bring it back to the board for a motion and a vote. Do we have a motion?
Member Durrett, I'm going to move to approve it, but with my admonishment that I've been giving at other hearings that I don't expect these to go on forever. And I do expect at some point for the board to have a discussion of where that line will be drawn. I don't think we can put it in regulation or statute, but I think we should have a discussion on that, give a reasonable expectation. I think, it's not in line with the way this program was created to have licenses not perfected, but that won't be today. So I would move to approve the extension for agenda item 3A11.
Member Douglas, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. We have a first and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we are going on to item number 4. This is a consideration of approval for a conditional license for a cannabis consumption lounge, CRP Las Vegas LLC. Mr. Daly. Staley.
Chair Guzman Freilich, Vice Chair Durrett, Justice Douglas, Member Merit, Dr. Young. For the record, I'm David Staley, Division Chief of Investigations for the CCB. I'm here to present agenda item number 4, which consists of one request for approval of a conditional license for a cannabis consumption lounge. If this board approves conditional licensure, the applicant will still need to complete necessary local approvals and a final inspection by the CCB's Inspection and Audit Division before it can open for business. Item A is a request for approval from CRP Las Vegas LLC for a retail attached consumption lounge under application ACON-A22-00104. CRP operates the Cookies Dispensary on West Flamingo, Las Vegas, and plans to operate its consumption lounge, appealing to existing dispensary customers. CRP has submitted all information required to move to a conditional license status. No areas of concern were identified during this investigation. I'm available for any questions, and my understanding is that Maggie McCletchie, Ryan Johnson, Jessica Feingold, and Alex McGaw are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman-Frelick, I'll turn this item back to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, and welcome. If you could please, when you come up to the podium, looks like do we have a presentation? Okay, great. If you could just state your name for the record, and we'll hear your presentation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, board, and thank you for having us. My name is Ryan Johnson. I'm general counsel and one of the owners for CRP Las Vegas. I'd like to take this time to thank you all for hearing us today and welcome the new executive director. I'm here with my colleagues who I'll let introduce themselves briefly, and then we'll jump into our presentation.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Feingold. I'm Associate General Counsel for CRP Las Vegas. I want to personally thank Angela Dean, our investigator, who was so wonderful to work with and was extremely helpful throughout this process. We really appreciated everything that she provided to us or for guidance, getting us here to this point today.
Morning, board. My name is Alex McCaw. Wanted to thank you guys again for all the hard work you've done getting us to this final licensure position, and really appreciate it and hope we can get on to the next part right now.
Morning, Mark Nye, Vice President, Operational Compliance, and I want to echo my colleagues in thanking you for your time and for viewing this presentation. Next slide, please. Cookies was a brand that was founded by two minority
I'm sorry, excuse me, who is?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Ryan Johnson.
Okay.
This is Ryan Johnson again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cookies is a brand that was started in San Francisco, California by two minority cannabis entrepreneurs. Through strategic partnerships such as the one with CRP Las Vegas, Cookies has expanded rapidly throughout the United States and the world with multiple locations in many different jurisdictions. Cookies is a pioneer in developing cannabis brand loyalty through many avenues. One, through its following with its foundations in media and pop culture, celebrity endorsements, and its well-known clothing brand. But not only that, is also its exclusive cannabis genetics, all of which that will be highlighted and focused on at the Cannabis Consumption Lounge that we're presenting today. Next slide, please. Today, as you know, we are seeking the board's approval for our conditional license for the Cannabis Consumption Lounge. We're confident that our high-quality product offering, combined with the brand that we have brought to the plate, along with our location and our excellent customer service, will bring a first-class and best-in-class operation to Las Vegas. Next slide, please. Cookies Las Vegas has always and will continue to pride itself on as being an equal opportunity employer, committed to creating diverse and inclusive workforce. And that's something that we will carry on not only at the Cannabis Consumption Lounge, but at our retail dispensary that's co-located. Cookies Las Vegas has been able to train, retain, and recruit a diverse team through grassroots efforts, partnering with other organizations that share the same values and commitment to diversity goals, and through our comprehensive training programs that we offer to all of our employees, which we will offer the same to our consumption lounge employees. We will position the Cookies Las Vegas Cannabis Consumption Lounge to be best in class in the world. Built for success with job satisfaction of our employees, high employee retention for various reasons, including the training that I mentioned, but also best in class employee benefits programs that we offer to all of our employees. Strict compliance with CCB rules and regulations and other local laws and regulations, and ensuring greater quality of life for all of our members of our employment team, and to help serve all of the clientele who will patron our location.
Hello, Alex McCaw here again. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the location. So obviously, you guys know we'll be co-located at our previous location at 4240 West Flamingo. The building's total square footage is about 17,000 square feet. I'm going to be using about 4,000 initially upstairs. And we're proposing, different VIP areas, covered balcony that will be enclosed, large lounge sitting areas, different private rooms, secured storage will be up there as well. And then a security room with all the necessary video surveillance will be up there as well. And then we actually have a little spot that's already designed for cleaning any smoking devices or equipment that we may be using as well. Next slide, please.
Can I take you back? This is Member Douglas for the record, as your location. Are you looking to do food or live entertainment or anything like that? Is that
Yeah,
within the
yeah,
plan?
we'll go over that on the next slide actually too. Yeah, we got some. So obviously, as I'm sure you've heard on a lot of these presentations, a lot of the customers going to these retail places are asking where to consume these products safely. So that's what we want to be able to provide, is a safe, comfortable place for these guys to come in, not have to worry about anybody doing anything on the strip or anything like that. And then obviously our goal is getting all the existing tourists and customer fans that we have to come in, check it all out, see what we've done with this awesome experience, and providing the high quality products Ryan mentioned as well, and to become world renowned as a Las Vegas Cannabis Consumption Lounge in this first stage of licensure. Next slide, please. So here's some of the operational plans. We initially plan to be open 24/7, 365 days a week, and see how that all turns out for us, and maybe change if we need to. Obviously, we plan to cater to, various experiences with VIP rooms, reservations for renting out the whole space if we like, entertainment, sports games, different things that we can decide what we want to do with the different rooms we have laid out in there as well. And then obviously, if things go well, we could try to expand into that other square footage we have in there to make it a different experience. For sale, we'll have the single-use flower edibles, tinctures, concentrates, infused cannabis beverages. We'll have consumption devices for rent and purchase, accessories, and a lot of the apparel Ryan talked about as well. We'll have those unique for the consumption lounge. And then we collaborate with local food trucks already. So we're planning on doing that, as well as having some sort of food available for either delivery, or the customers can go downstairs and pick it up, bring it back inside. And then we'll have the free water and non-infused drinks for purchase as well.
Jessica Feingold for the record. So to start, we have a management team that's top in class, experienced and diverse group of professionals and experts. We all are so excited about this opportunity to commence our Cookies Las Vegas Consumption Lounge. We plan on utilizing our existing management team at the retail store, as well as our corporate management team, to kick off our consumption lounge. Our team has experience in hospitality, retail operations, food and beverage as well. Our corporate management team has opened over 25 retail cannabis dispensary locations across the country, nationwide, and collectively our management team has experience opening over hundreds of different kinds of retail locations in different types of industries. As we all know, being strictly compliant is the key to our success. I want to highlight 4 features of our compliance plan. that we will implement and continue to focus on at the lounge that we currently have at the retail dispensary. We want to be strictly compliant. Of course, we will never permit any minors into the consumption lounge. We want our lounge to be safe, and we want our lounge to be clean. So in order to be strictly compliant, we will utilize ID scanners as well as visual checks on all IDs. We will have on-site security guards with metal detectors. We have protocols in place and employee training on how to monitor or any overconsumption that may happen at the lounge. We will continue our metric and waste compliance at the lounge as well. For no minors, we again, to reiterate, strict ID compliance, security checks upon entry into the building in the main lobby, as well as upon entering into the lounge. All advertising will be strictly compliant with all CCB rules and regulations and will never be attractive to children. Our lounge will be safe, spacious. We will be equipped with adequate ventilation, hallways, egress, and ingress bathrooms, onboarding and ongoing employee training regarding any emergency responsiveness that may happen in the lounge. We will dedicate a space, like Alex mentioned, to clean all smoking devices in between uses and compliant removal of any waste and any unused cannabis in the lounge. That is the end of our presentation. Please let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And you might have said this already, but is this CRP's or your parent company's very first lounge across
Correct.
the country?
So CRP Las Vegas LLC, this will be our very first lounge co-located with the retail dispensary located on 4240 West Flamingo Road.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions?
Member Dret, I'm just wondering if General Counsel and Associate General Counsel, are you guys based in, you're not based in Nevada, are you based in California?
We are based in California. That's correct, in Southern California.
Thanks.
And we use the assistant of Maggie McClutchy as local counsel here.
Great. Thank you for coming out for your presentation.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yes, I echo that. Thank you. I like to see faces. That's always refreshing to see people come to Las Vegas or even to the north. Thank you. Any additional questions from the board members? And thank you for that presentation. Okay, hearing no additional questions, then we'll go ahead and bring it back to the board for the motion and deliberation.
This is Member Young. First, I'd like to say thank you for that excellent presentation. I move that we approve agenda item 4A, the conditional license for cannabis consumption lounge. Item A for, I guess, CR/P Las Vegas LLC.
We have a first. Is there a second?
Member Dret, a second.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, we will move on to item 5, which is our request for transfers of interest, beginning with item A, which is Green Mining Concepts, Inc. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman, Freilich, members of the board. For the record, I am David Staley, Division Chief of Investigations for the CCB. I'm here to present agenda item number 5, which consists of 6 transfer of interest or TOI applications. Item A are TOI applications by Green Mining Concepts, Inc., a vertically integrated cannabis company in Las Vegas, Nevada. TOIs number 19072 and 19072A request approvals for some internal restructuring, departure of Brian O'Reilly, in addition of new investors. Green Mining has also requested a waiver of NCCR 5.110 pursuant to NCCR 5.112. If approved, the requirements for prior board approval of transfers of less than 5% of green mining ownership will be waived. Green mining has adequately addressed the items required in NCCR 5.112 to allow the board to approve such waivers. Staff suggests that if approved, the board limit natural green mining's 5.112 waiver to expire on its next agenda date. There are areas of concern in this TOI report regarding a lack of requested documentation, unapproved transfers of interest, and a balance due owed to the Nevada Department of Taxation of approximately $963,985. These are the same issues identified when this company appeared before you at the March 2023 meeting. Green Mining previously appeared before the board at its March 2023 meeting, where its proposed $7.5 million sale of a conditional dispensary license to Natural Medicine was approved. At that time, Green Mining owed the Nevada Department of Taxation approximately $940,552, but explained to the board that it would be using the proceeds from the sale to Natural Medicine to become current with all tax law obligations. The company reiterated in a March 14th, 2023 letter that is attached to this investigative report that Green Mining anticipates using the funds garnered from the sale of its asset Exhale Brands Nevada 3 to work out and pay off the outstanding balances owed by Exhale Brands Nevada LLC. The March 14th, 2023 letter continued by requesting that the board not issue a civil penalty at the March meeting regarding the delinquent tax amounts to allow Exhale Brands to execute its proposed plan to cure the issue. As of November 20th, 2023, Green Mining's tax obligations have risen to approximately $963,985, and it does not appear that it followed through with its representations to the board at the March agenda. In addition, then Chair Douglas provided the company 60 days to provide requested documents, but the company has failed to submit loan and ownership documents for Brian O'Reilly, Jeremy Kiefer, and other minority shareholders, despite multiple staff requests during August and September of 2023. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Adam Fulton, Brian Hardy, Peter Findley, Tim O'Reilly, and Brian O'Reilly are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman-Freilich, I will turn this item back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Staley. Welcome. If you could please just state your name for the record.
I'm Brian Hardy on behalf of the Green Mining Concepts, Inc., with the law firm of Marquis Arbach.
Adam Fulton, and I represent Mr. Barth today, and I'm with the law firm of Jennings and Fulton.
And we have with us both Mr. Barth and Pete Finley.
Okay. Before we begin, I'm probably going to just ask what's on everybody's mind. What is your tax status at this moment?
So with respect to the amounts, and that's Chair Freilich, what I'd like to be able to address is what those amounts were used for. So as you know, there was an approval of the sale of the license. That sale of the license allowed for an instant, some money to come in instantly and then some money to be provided in on a monthly basis. And they have been making payments on their monthly basis against the purchase of that license. Those funds have been used to pay down all of the obligations of the company. So let me tell you exactly kind of how that broke down. So the first amounts of that were used to pay off all federal tax liabilities. The second amounts of that came in were used to resolve a numerous litigation that were pending against the company with respective vendors and to negotiate with the Nevada Department of Taxation a payment plan. The amount that was pending with the Nevada Department of Taxation at the time with fees and penalties was $1.15 million. Currently, it's $963,000. It has been paid down since that time, and we are currently in good standing with the Nevada Department of Taxation, an amount which we are paying down on a monthly basis as we receive in the proceeds from the note from that original sale. And that's what we continue to do and continue to plan to be able to do. One of the other things that we have with respect to this particular reorganization, and we've provided copies to the board, were all of the notes and obligations that the company has. And those notes and obligations are something that we have been able to work to negotiate and continue to work to eliminate the liabilities of the company down so that it can continue to operate, continue to have its employees operate and receive their salaries. Unfortunately, as I think it was pointed out by the Chamber of Cannabis, industry has been in decline, but they've been continuing to try to keep operational. And we're hopeful that as we get this final piece in place where we can have the ownership transfer, that the new owners will be able to work with us as opposed to why they've been waiting for the last almost 4 years to be able to assume ownership, so that way they can go ahead and be subject to capital calls and other things in order to be able to make due on the rest of the amounts that are due and owing to all of the different organizations and vendors.
Can I just get some clarification that 1.15 million that was owed to Nevada Department of Taxation is now at 963,985. Is that 963 number, was that the number that was negotiated, or is that the pay down? You actually paid down from 1.15 to 963?
There have been substantial pay downs. I think that was the pay down that we've been able to negotiate. I don't think there was a negotiated there was no negotiated reduction of that amount. It has all been paid down through the amounts that have been submitted. And again, we get a monthly amount from that particular sale, and that monthly amount is allocated to put and continue to pay down the amounts to the Nevada Department of Taxation.
Okay, Mr. Staley mentions some documentation that was supposed to be submitted to the board within 60 days after that last approval in March.
There was a request for all
documents.
Brian Hardy, for the record. There was a request for proof of all of the ownership. We provided all of the information regarding the ownership. There was questions for paperwork regarding how they acquired that ownership. Unfortunately, all of this happened back in the Department of Taxation days, is when all that was going on. They had different counsel at that time. That counsel did not provide them with a lot of the paperwork that was necessary. And as a result of that, that was one of the first things that I had to do, was to negotiate an issue with respect to that particular counsel that didn't provide all that information. So we can't provide documentation that we simply don't have. And we went through and pulled everything that we could, but we were not going to create documentation for the board. Unfortunately, and then we disclosed that we provided everything that we could based on that, and we had an ownership structure bracket that was all put together. But we didn't have anything more than what we had provided and was provided.
And Adam Fulton, for the record, and just as a reminder, this TOI has been pending since 2019. So this TOI, we're asking for documents that are
Mr. Fulton, if it's been, Member Douglas on the record, if it's been pending since 2019, the expectation is you would have had documents. My second part, though, I was going to ask is, do we have a formal agreement with tax in writing as to the payment plan? I know you said you were making payments, but normally there's a confirmation of that. We have not received it. We asked you to provide some information. I did particularly, and I'm a little concerned that we have nothing in writing. I asked staff as late as yesterday, what do we have? And they said, we're still missing what we're asking for, which says there's a disconnect in terms of you providing information, which makes it hard for me to accept the representations you're making today, because they should have been made to our staff to communicate with us. We don't have it. So do you have something in writing from tax, or did you just make a payment with pledges to make future payments?
So we've provided to staff copies of the proofs of payments that have been made for the last few months, if that's what they were asking for.
The question is, do you have an agreement with tax?
Yes. It's on file and it has been submitted. So yeah, we have a settlement agreement with the Department of Taxation, which included Mr. Finley being required.
When was that submitted?
July. It was submitted into a cell in July.
Let me go back then to our folks. The understanding was we had not received that information to our staff. Did we receive that information? Mr. Staley, if you're still on.
Rachel Brainer, for the record, we did receive a copy of payment agreement and guarantee. The agreement does spell out for specific periods of debt that's owed with Department of Taxation. There are 2 periods of debt. Excuse me, it is our understanding that there are 2 periods of debt that exist outside of that payment agreement, but we did receive proof of payment as council has represented.
And the guarantee that Mr. Finley put up his home as
collateral for that loan to show you that he was serious about getting it taken care of.
Okay. Any additional questions or discussion with regard to the tax payments or any other questions that you might have, board members?
Member Durrett, for the record, I have a question for Chief Staley. He mentioned that we discussed a civil penalty at the last hearing, but we didn't discuss a civil penalty, right? Because that we would only impose one pursuant to either a settlement agreement or disciplinary action, but this was just a discussion of a transfer. We could potentially send it for investigation, but I just want to make sure I'm remembering correctly and understanding.
Chief Staley, for the record, Member Durrett, I was referring to page 12 of the investigative report that you have in front of you for green mining concepts. Page 12 includes the conclusion of the March 14th, 2023 letter provided by council. And in their conclusion, they make the request that the board not issue a civil penalty in relation to the outstanding taxable amounts, under the understanding that they had an active plan to correct the issues, and that would allow them to execute on their proposed plan.
Got it. Thank you. Just for my own thoughts on this, I would feel comfortable moving forward, but I think it would be good to bring it back for a status check on the tax payments in 6 months.
Is that your motion?
Sure, if you're ready for a motion.
Let me just make sure there's no additional comments from the representatives. Do you have additional comments?
This is Tim O'Reilly of the O'Reilly Law Group. As indicated, I'm present with Brian O'Reilly at the transfer order. My only request, or maybe it's an understanding in terms of talking about dollars and cents here of significant value, that the order that's put in this matter also confirms that the transfer also complies with the contractual agreement between Mr. Brian O'Reilly and Mr. Bill Barth as well, including the financial obligations.
I don't understand.
There's contractual obligations by Mr. Barth in this matter, and as it relates to the transfer. I also understand that there's an obligation in terms of the transfer of the interest.
So I'm sorry, so you would want us to follow up on whether or not those contractual obligations were
I would want in
met?
terms of the transfer to be consistent with Mr. Brian O'Reilly's satisfaction before the transfer is finalized. So if we're going to have a follow-up, I would ask that it be part of an order in terms of the contractual obligations are met.
Yeah. For my part, I would just be interested in the tax payment. And I think, if there's a problem with your understanding of the contractual obligations, that would be suitable for a judicial decision.
That would be a simple issue.
I understand your concern because from my reading, Mr. O'Reilly, one of the O'Reillys had, I guess, something pending before gaming, so needed to have
That's
this
correct.
completed.
Mr. Brian O'Reilly has been asked to be present here today as a transfer, which is pretty unique if you ask me in terms of the process. One of the reasons he wants to transfer out is because he's going to be involved in terms of the gaming industry. So we can move forward in terms of this transfer. We had asked consistent, I understand the concern in terms of tax obligations. There's also an obligation in terms of the transfer of the interest. That's on the agenda here today. And that transfer of the interest has other contractual obligations. So I'd ask that any order be consistent with those obligations to meet Mr. O'Reilly's satisfaction.
For the record, this is David Staley, Chief of Investigations. I would defer to our DAGs, but our regs and statutes provide that we approve a transfer of interest, and that's the extent of our regulatory authority. I would suggest that any issues with any potential contractual obligations, again, that would be a civil matter, and as mentioned by Vice Chair Durrett, that would be subject to judicial review. I don't believe that it's appropriate, nor is it covered for the CCB to have any regulatory oversight over the completion of contractual obligations.
Christopher Rath, Senior Deputy Attorney General, for the record. I would agree with Mr. Staley on that, as well as Member Durrett. I think the issue is just approval or not approval of the transfer of interest. And I mean, I think you could request they come back for just a status check on the taxes as well, but that's my opinion.
Thank you. And I agree with both of them, with everybody here, actually. As far as your contractual relations, we really don't have any jurisdiction over that. We were just asking for a status check because that is within our jurisdiction, just to confirm that the taxes are being paid by those that are licensed.
Member Douglas, for the record, as to a concern as to O'Reilly, we would note that the ownership shares, in essence, 4.9 in Green Mining, have been sitting in an escrow account, and that once we approve the TOI, it would be released to Mr. Barth on our approval. So that would eliminate that issue.
And that would trigger any payment obligations. Yes. Closing.
So at the very least, I'd ask that it be maintained in terms of the status check, so we can finalize the matter. I believe it's 10% interest. I think you're referencing paragraph 4.4, correct, Justice?
Chair, are you ready for a motion?
One last question.
I
Do we
am.
have a time frame when you're looking at to follow up, because that's kind of a concern. And
6 months works for us here.
Member Durrett, for the record, I move to approve the request for transfers under agenda item 5A. And ask that this be set for a status check on payment of the tax obligations in 6 months.
Thanks. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Chair Guzman Freilich, David Staley, for the record. I want to remind the board that there's also a request for waiver of 5.110 pursuant to 5.12.
Thank you. Would you amend your motion, or Member Durrett?
Yeah, Member Durrett, for the record, my motion would include a waiver, the requested waiver.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Member Young, I'll second
Member
that.
Merritt, second.
Okay, we've got a couple of seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you in 6 months.
Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll go on to item number B, which is MedMen Enterprises, Inc. for transfer interest. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman Freilich, members of the board, for the record, I'm David Staley. Item B is a TOI application by MedMen Enterprises, Inc. TOIs number 2100044 through 2100047 and 21060 were filed requesting approval for structuring various subsidiaries to hold MedMen separate cannabis licenses. MedMen has also requested a waiver of NCCR 5.10 pursuant to 5.12. If approved, the requirements for prior board approval of transfers of less than 5% of MedMen's ownership will be waived. The company has adequately addressed the items required in NCCR 5.112 to allow the board to approve such waivers. Staff suggests that if approved, the board limit MedMen's 5.112 waivers to expire on its next TOI agenda date. An area of concern was developed during this investigation because it appears that the internal restructuring occurred without prior board approval. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Alicia Ashcraft, Kimball Cannon, and Ellen Harrison are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman Freilich, I will turn this item back to you.
Thank you very much and welcome. If we could just have you state your name for the record. I know we have a couple of members, representatives that are joining us by Zoom. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Chair Guzman Freilich. members of the board, and a warm welcome to Executive Director Hum. My name is Alicia Ashcraft of the law firm of Ashcraft and Barr. With me by way of Zoom this morning are CEO Ellen Harrison and General Counsel Kimball Cannon of MedMen. MedMen's been before the board a couple of times. We're happy to answer any questions with regard to the company in general. I thought it would be most helpful if, as an affirmative presentation, I discuss the background of what brought us to this item on the agenda today. As you may know, the way that MedMen was formed, at least in Nevada and I think in other jurisdictions, is that the founders created entities that then either applied for licenses or in most cases in the state of Nevada acquired licenses. Those various entities were owned by different owners, but included the founders in each occasion. There were different investment opportunities for the various owners. And then in 2018, there was an initial public offering. The publicly traded company was formed, and there was a roll-up of all of those various entities that were created, which then became subsidiaries of the MedMen structure. With respect to this one entity, which is MMNV2 Holdings 1, we are uncertain as to why, whether that was left off of the 2018 application or through a clerical error may have been included in the application, but not included on the approval that came through taxation at that time. For whatever reason, this does not appear on the final approval letter. We have scoured our records. General Counsel Kimball Cannon and I can attest to we have been over and over with staff, and I would be remiss if I did not expressly thank Audit Investigator Angela Dean for her fastidious diligence in working with us through the search of our records. But again, as we stand here before you today, we don't know why that wasn't included on that application, as were all of the other MedMen entities throughout Nevada, but it does not appear on that final approval letter. If that was due to our error, we own that. MedMen takes regulatory compliance very seriously. We will tell you that from the time that roll-up occurred, the contribution of all of those entities to the MedMen corporate structure, this facility has been treated as all other facilities throughout Nevada with the same points of contact with the Department of Taxation and now CCB, with the same regulatory compliance team at MedMen that oversees to ensure that it is in keeping with the regulations and with the law. And it was due to a search of our records in conjunction with a sale of this facility that it was discovered that it was not included on the approval letter with all of the other facilities throughout Nevada. We've spoken at length with both Investigator Dean as well as Audit Investigator Rachel Brenner and Chief Staley to make sure that we've gone through everything and over the records to explain as best we can what we believe occurred. But there is no reason, as we understand it, why this would have been left off and not included in the roll-up with all of the other entities. Happy to answer any questions or provide further information to the extent we can.
Thank you. And again, thank you for being present. I don't think I speak on just for myself, but on behalf of the entire board, that it's always nice to have those people who want to do business in the state have the time to appear before us. So thank you. Are there any questions from the board members? Any questions or concerns? Okay. And thank you for that explanation with regard to that, the oversight. If there are no additional questions or any other comments from those present, then we'll go ahead and bring it back to the board for a vote.
Member Douglas, I'd make a motion for approval and waiver request as the NCCR 5.110 and also pursuant to 5.112. And this has been a good licensee. I don't see any need to refer it back to staff.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Member Drat, I second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again.
Thank you and
Thank you
welcome,
so much.
Executive Director.
Thank you very much.
And I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item C, which is Fidelis Holding LLC. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman, Freilich, members of the board, for the record, this is David Staley. Item C is a TOI application by Fidelis Holdings LLC. TOI number 2300005 was filed requesting approval for an internal restructuring that would result in all of Fidelis cannabis licenses being held under Fidelis Holdings LLC and would eliminate Fidelis Holdings Henderson LLC from the ownership structure. No areas of concern were developed during this investigation. I'm available for any questions, and my understanding is that Daniel Brazov and Catherine Mizzi are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman Freilich, I will turn this item back to you.
Great, thank you very much, and welcome. If you could just please state your name for the record.
Chair Guzman, members of the board, my name is Daniel H.C. Brazov, member of Fidelis Holdings LLC and Fidelis Holdings LLC Henderson.
Thank you.
Catherine Mizzi for Fidelis Holdings.
Wonderful. Do you have, I see that there's no areas of concern. Do you have an affirmative presentation?
No, we don't. Just a formal request to join the two entities. They retain the original ownership, original members, original management, as well as share locations.
Okay, thank you very much. No areas of concern. Any comments from the board members or any questions that you might have? Okay, doesn't sound like it. So this should be easy. We'll go ahead and bring it back to the board for a motion and a vote. Prepared to take a motion.
Member Douglas, it's nice to see something with no areas of concern. Motion for approval.
Member Merritt, I'll second.
Thank you. We have first and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item D, which is Unifern LLC for transfer of interest. Mr. Staley.
Chair Guzman, Freilich, members of the board, for the record, this is David Staley. Item D is a TOI application by Unifern LLC. TOI is number 19062 and 2300018 were filed requesting approval of the transfer of his 25% ownership from Arthur Curtis to Semyon Steiner. No areas of concern were identified, but an area of interest was identified regarding the amount of outstanding amounts payable on Unifern's balance sheet. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Semyon Steiner and David Edelbutte are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman Freilich, I will turn this item back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, and welcome. Just really quickly, just a footnote here. I understand that you are one of the original items back from the TOIs that were waiting to be reviewed from the moratorium back in 2019. And so I'm glad that you were finally at the top. And it's my understanding that you're one of the last ones. So you've made it. Congratulations, and go ahead and state for the record your name, please.
Or thank you, Chair Guzman Freilich. My name is David Edelblut, spelled Edelblute. I'm here on behalf of the applicant Unifern, along with Samyan Steiner. He also goes by Sam. Last name spelled Shtayner. Chair, you're correct. This has been a long process, 4.5 years. We really appreciate the work of Chief Staley, former Executive Director Tyler Klimas, our investigator Danny Sandrock. It has been a long road, but we're confident here today, and we're happy to be here before you. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Member Douglas, for the record, I guess underlying question for us is, how is our approving a TOI going to clean up this financial mess that we're looking at and you're looking at more pointedly?
Sure. Thank you, Member Douglas. I appreciate the pointed question. This is David Edelblut for the record. Obviously, the financials are before you, and there are some substantial outstanding receivables. A couple of issues on that point. First, some of the outstanding receivables are back rents owed to the landlord. I'm happy to report that there have been ongoing negotiations with the landlord for a lease extension for 3 5-year renewal terms. We take that as a signal from the landlord who approached us about that extension, that they're confident once we finalize this TOI application and can actually operate the business as Mr. Steiner intends to, that we're hoping to see some profit, that we can pay that back and have a fruitful relationship with that landlord. There's also some other concerns with some outstanding receivables, but those amounts are actually owed about $2 million worth to Mr. Steiner through a parent company. He provided personal loans to those parent companies to fund Unifern's operations. There was subsequent litigation that happened right at the time, right before the moratorium was imposed. And that litigation finally resolved itself with a settlement agreement in June of this year. Unifern and Mr. Steiner will be coming into some substantial money as soon as those accounts are reconciled and that those payments are made.
Any additional questions or concerns from the board members?
Member Durrett, I have a question. I think it's for Chief Staley. I see that it was on hold because of the litigation, but I think there's probably more to it than just that, right? But because we don't put items on hold just because there's litigation, right? So at what point does staff decide this litigation is making it so that this can't go on the agenda?
Member Durrett, David Staley for the record. The litigation in this case specifically included a disagreement on that 25% that Mr. Curtis is sending over to Mr. Steiner. So typically you are correct. Litigation is not something that once we understood it would materially impact transfer of interest application. However, in the case where the litigation specifically includes the purpose of the TOI in the first place, the policy of the board has been to wait until that judicial process has been completed, that the ownership percentages have been sorted out in the courts, and then at that time, the TOI goes before the board. I think the board has always been concerned that it may approve a transfer of interest when that interest is still under litigation itself.
Member Durrett, I think that's one of those issues that as we age and grow and mature, we can refine, because I just with further discussion, we don't have to discuss it right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members? and thank you for your diligence in making payments with all of your outstanding bills. And with that, I will take a motion.
Member Durrett, I move to approve the requested transfer of interest under agenda item 5D.
I have a first, is there a second?
This member Young, I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and that brings us to our next item on these transfers of interest, which is NNV Operations 1 Inc. and 21st Street LLC for a transfer of interest.
Chair Guzman, Freilich, members of the board, for the record, this is David Staley. Item E are TOI applications by NNB Operations 1 Inc. TOIs number 2300027 through 2300030 request approvals for the sale of NNB's cannabis licenses to 21st Street LLC, resulting from NNB's entering into receivership during May of 2022. There are areas of concern in this TOI related to past NNB operations, but they will be presented to the board on this agenda as part of item number 7B. I am available for any questions, and my understanding is that Charles Schultz Jr., Ed Alexander, Ronald Verstappen, Andrew Kaplan, and Gavin Chandler are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman Freilich, I'll turn this item back to you.
Thank you, and welcome, gentlemen. If you could please state your name for the record, and if you have any affirmative presentations, we'll hear those now.
Good morning, Chair. Jeff Barr of the law firm of Ashcraft and Barr on behalf of the receiver, Charles Schultz. With me is Chuck Schultz and my partner, Alicia Ashcraft.
Ed Alexander, for the record, on behalf of 21st Street LLC.
Thank you. Do you have an affirmative presentation for us this morning?
Just a few brief remarks, Chair, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Jeff Barr, we stand before you here today, a success story. This is, I want to take you back to the end of 2021, where NNV operations, management resigned, owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. The company was in disarray, got a receiver appointed. We're working through all the issues, including the disciplinary issues and the tax issues. And in the middle of that, the receiver died. The board and its staff were flexible and understanding. And we stand here today, again, with item 7B, a success story. We have now cleaned up the tax issues. Pleased to report that there was a settlement with taxation, I believe December 12th. And we now are selling this company. The receiver is selling this company to a reputable operator. It is, again, a success and a testament to everyone's hard work and dedication to this industry. So I want to thank staff, particularly Emily Bordelove for her help in all of this. And I want to thank this board for their patience and their vision to see this thing through. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, Ed Alexander, I wanted to mirror Jeff's comments. I also want to directly thank Mr. Staley and his entire staff and the CCB. The process that you folks have put in place for licenses that are in receivership is vital. There's an expedited TOI review process, and that is so very important because the burn rate, once you go into a receivership, you've got compounding legal fees. You've got many more moving pieces than just trying to settle the outstanding obligations of the company. So Danny was wonderful in her review of all of the documents. I believe we responded almost immediately to her requests. And generally speaking, the CCB has been a very good partner in making sure that this transition goes as smoothly as possible. I think we're the first company to emerge from receivership in the state of Nevada. And I just commend you guys for what you've done to help us with that. So thank you.
Appreciate those comments. Thank you. Do we have any questions from the board members? Okay. Any additional comments from the representatives?
Jeff Barr, none from us. We just asked for your approval. Thank you.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for a motion. Is there a motion for approval?
Member Douglas, for the record, I'd move for approval of item 5D. And from my standpoint, congratulations.
Is there a second?
Member Merritt, I'll second.
I'm sorry, but let me just real quick. Member Douglas, did you say 5?
I'm sorry, it's 5E.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have a first. We have a second. Member Merritt, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? I just have a question. Any relation to the Formula One winner? No? Okay. For Mr. Verstappen. Okay. With that, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us then to item 5F, or yes, F5F, which is Crooked Wine Company LLC and Herbal Inc.
Chair Guzman Freilich, members of the board, for the record, this is David Staley. Item F are TOI applications by Crooked Wine Company LLC. TOIs number 21044 and 21044A request approval for the sale of Crooked Wine's distribution license to Herbal Inc. There are areas of concern in this TOI related to past unapproved transfers of the distribution license, but they will be presented to the board as part of agenda item number 7A. I'm available for any questions, and my understanding is that John Savage, Kevin Singer, Thomas Vallis, and Kirk Offerall are available to address any questions you may have as well. With that, Chair Guzman Freilich, I will turn this item back to you.
Okay, thank you. And go ahead and state your name for the record.
Thank you, Chair. This is David Edelblut again with the law firm Howard & Howard on behalf of the court-appointed receiver, Kevin Singer, who is here with me to my right. We also have my partner, John Savage, appearing by video today. John was supposed to be here, but I hear he's under the weather, so he apologizes not being able to be here. With that, thanks, Chair. Sorry for that. We're happy to answer any questions. I know there was an area of concern that's going to be considered later under agenda item 7A, but happy to provide information now for your consideration.
Okay, do we have any questions? Any questions or concerns from the board member with regard to the transfer of interest? Okay, hearing none. Any additional comments before we bring it back to the board?
None from us, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Then I am prepared to take a motion.
This is Member Young. I'll move that we approve agenda item 5F, the transfer of interest between Crooked Wine Company and Herbal Inc.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Member Douglas, I'll second.
A first and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next on the agenda is Mr. Singer again. So if you want to just stay up there, we'll go on to item number 6. And this item is Kevin Singer's application for cannabis establishment agent registration card for a cannabis receiver as court-appointed receiver for Blackbird NV LLC. Okay, and go ahead, Mr. Rath.
Thank you, Chair. L. Christopher Rath, Senior Deputy Attorney General. For the record, I'll be presenting this agenda item, which is Mr. Singer's application for a cannabis receiver agent card over the Blackbird cannabis distribution licenses, numbers T002 and T003. As you've just approved the transfer of those licenses to Blackbird, it's now time to consider Mr. Singer's application to be the receiver over those licenses. Herbal is the parent company of Blackbird. It's in receivership in California. Mr. Singer's the receiver there. He opened an ancillary receivership over Blackbird in Nevada, and the Nevada District Court has appointed him a receiver over Blackbird, subject to the CCB's approval of the TOI you just heard, and subject to the CCB's approval of his cannabis receiver agent card. I think you're all very familiar with Mr. Singer's qualifications, as he's been approved a receiver in 4 other cases in Nevada, one of which has concluded. The only area of concern identified for this matter was an unapproved transfer of interest that took place in April 2021 when Crooked Wine owned the licenses. However, Mr. Singer has gone ahead and entered into negotiations with us. So if he is approved as a receiver, we can then move on to the next agenda item, which would be consideration of approval of the settlement agreement. But for this agenda item, it's simply whether or not to approve Mr. Singer as a cannabis receiver over the licenses T002 and T003. I'm available for any questions, as is Mr. Singer and his counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Rath. And I know it seems complicated, but thank you for that explanation. And it certainly is helpful when we have all these items back to back. I can't imagine it having on different agendas. It would be a nightmare. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Any additional comments or concerns from the representatives or Mr. Rath before we ask the board for questions?
None from us, Chair, but thank you for consideration of this next agenda item.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Singer, this is Member Douglas. You've done an outstanding job so far on the other matters you're involved with. Should we be concerned that you're stretched thin? This is your 4th or 5th that you're involved with?
Thank you, Your Honorable Douglas. No, you shouldn't be concerned that I'm stretched thin. I'm not a sole practitioner operation. I have a group of team members who I work with on these cases, and we're very well staffed and well versed in these types of cases. And I have excellent legal counsel who helps me out through this process as well. So no, we're gonna.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional comments or concerns? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion?
Member Douglas, I move for approval of Mr. Singer being appointed a receiver as to this matter. We're familiar with his background, and I think he's well qualified.
Member Merritt, I would second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? No discussion. Okay. Then all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again. And good luck.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone. And next we will go on to item 7. Actually, yes, you're back up again. So perfect. Item 7A, and this is a consideration of a proposed settlement agreements to resolve disciplinary action. Item A, again, is Cannabis Compliance Board versus Crooked Wine Company LLC and Blackbird Nevada or NB LLC.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Again, L. Christopher Rath, Senior Deputy Attorney General for the record. This matter flows directly from the last two agenda items. As noted in the related TOI, Devlin Moore had owned Crooked Wine Company, which included liquor distribution licenses as well as the 2 cannabis distribution licenses. Mr. Moore sold Crooked Wine to Kirk Offerly in April 2021. Apparently, Mr. Offerly did not realize he was also receiving cannabis distribution licenses as part of the sale, and Blackbird, as part of a MSA, continued to operate those licenses. These issues were uncovered during the TOI investigation. The parties all understand and acknowledge there was an unapproved TOI violation, and without the need for filing a complaint, Mr. Singer, as the cannabis receiver candidate, agreed to accept the discipline on the licenses for the unapproved TOI. And that can be done now once the Blackbird TOI has been approved and CCB has approved him as a receiver. The parties agreed to settle the matter for an admission to 1 Category 2 violation for affecting a change of ownership interest without complying with all regulatory requirements, including CCB approval. The parties further agreed to a civil penalty of $8,500. The parties agreed that this amount was reasonable. The maximum civil penalty could have been $25,000 and a suspension. There also could have been a civil penalty for the fact that there was no owner agent card for some period of time. However, Mr. Offerly cooperated, Mr. Singer cooperated, and we were all able to resolve this at one time with the other 2 matters. The mitigating factors, which I sort of outlined, included the cooperation I just mentioned, the fact that the state saved time and effort because it didn't have to file a complaint to proceed with a disciplinary action. And another mitigating factor is the fact that the licenses will be under new ownership with no involvement of the persons who affected the unapproved TOI. So for those reasons, the Attorney General requests the board approve this settlement agreement. I'm available for any questions, as is Mr. Singer and his counsel.
Thank you so much. And thank you for that explanation. This is a little bit different, as we know, because it involves a license for distribution tied to the liquor distribution license. So a little bit different than what we're used to. So, but interesting nonetheless. So if there are no additional comments from the representatives, Mr. Rath, then any comments from the board? Questions, concerns?
Member Douglas, for the record, I have no additional questions. I would ask in the future as to this stipulation document concluding this matter for us, that where it says order, whereas the 12th day of December 2023, the Nevada Cannabis Compliance Board approved and adopted all terms and conditions set forth in the stip in order for settlement of disciplinary action. I think that we should include a line after the Nevada Cannabis Compliance Board, after being apprised of the underlying facts, since we're responsible to make the decision. They were making it based upon understanding those facts.
And we can certainly put that in there for future settlement agreements. That's not a problem.
So I don't want to hold up today's proceeding by changing that one area.
Thank you. Any additional comments, concerns, or questions? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
This is Member Young. I'll move that we approve agenda item 7A, the proposed settlement agreement as outlined in the parties in agenda item A.
Is there a second?
Member Merritt, I will second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thanks again. Appreciate all your
Thank
time.
you.
Thanks
Okay,
again.
and I
Appreciate
will-
your time.
Thank you.
And I concur with the last speaker who, in appreciating our support receivership program. So thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Rath, I'll sign that and give it to staff before I leave today.
Thank you. And we'll also get you an order on the receivership too.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and go on to the next item under this section, which is item B, and that is Cannabis Compliance Board versus NNB Operations 1 LLC.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. For the record, this is Emily Bordalove, Senior Deputy Attorney General, appearing as counsel for the CCB for item 7B, presenting the stipulation order in the matter of CCB versus NNB Operations 1 Inc., case number 2021-54. NNB holds medical and adult use licenses for cultivation and production under facility numbers C141, RC141, P091, and RP091. This matter stems from a complaint the CVCB filed in November of 2021, alleging violations due to 6 instances of non-payment of the wholesale marijuana tax, 3 instances of non-payment of the modified business tax from July 2020 to June 2021. While noted in the complaint, but not included as violations, there were also non-payment of taxes from 2019, which predates the CCB. As noted earlier in this meeting, the receivers have arranged for NNB's licenses to be purchased by 21st Street. Given the complaint deals with solely tax violations, the CCB and the Department of Taxation, DOT, entered into a global settlement agreement with NNB, its receiver, and 21st Street. As stated in paragraph 36 of the stipulation order before you, 21st Street has agreed to pay taxation a lump sum payment of $350,000. This resolves 21st Street's tax liability for outstanding amounts owed by NNB. DOT has reserved its rights to collect any outstanding amounts due from liable parties that are not 21st Street. The Nevada Tax Commission has approved the terms of the settlement agreement during its December 4th meeting. As stated in paragraph 24 of the settlement agreement, to resolve these matters, NNB has admitted to 1, category 3 violation for unintentional failure to pay taxes, and 7, category 5 violations for failing to submit monthly tax or sales reports. NNB has agreed to pay a lump sum payment of $22,500 to CCB and accept a warning and consideration for its admitted first category 5 violation. As outlined in paragraph 33, NNB's plan of correction involves implementing policies and procedures similar to those currently in place with Ed Alexander, a member of 21st Street's other cannabis facilities, regarding timely payments of taxes to the department. As noted in paragraph 23 of the settlement agreement, factors considered for the civil penalty included, but are not limited to, that prior ownership is no longer involved in the management nor day-to-day operations since the receiver is put in place. And during this time, NNB has been compliant with tax payments. The violations deal with taxes only. The size of NNB's business, the impact of civil penalties on its ability to continue its business, and a low civil penalty has been proposed, taking into consideration the lump sum to be paid to the DOT. Based on the facts of this case, the foregoing corrective actions and admissions, the Attorney General recommends and requests the CCB approve the settlement. I'm available for any questions, as is Jeff Bark and Alicia Ashcraft, counsel for NNB, receiver Charles Schultz Jr., his counsel, Candace Carolyn, and 21st Street representative Ed Alexander. With that, I submit.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any affirmative presentations or comments or remarks?
Chair Jeff Barr on behalf of the receiver, Charles Schultz. With me is Charles Schultz and my partner, Alicia Ashcraft of the law firm of Ashcraft and Barr. I would just incorporate my comments from item 5E and thank the board again, particularly Emily Bordalove, who got up from her deathbed apparently to be here today. So thank you very much. We'd ask for your approval.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
I just want to thank you guys again this is Ed Alexander for the record. Thank you for your help in expediting the process. And we hope that with a little bit of luck and a stronger economy, we can keep the ship a sail.
Thank you. Okay. Board members, if you have any comments, concerns, this would be the time. Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
Member Durrett, were you going to?
I can. Member Durrett, I move to approve the proposed settlement agreement under agenda item 7B.
Is there a second?
Member Young, I'll second that. It.
Okay, first in a couple seconds. Any discussion on the motion?
Member Douglas, for the record, this matter, much like the previous one, I'd like to see in the future language submitted in our order approving after being apprised of all pertinent facts and negotiations, because in this one, we didn't approve the tax settlement. The Department of Tax did, because there was a dispute as to about 824,000, and it's been resolved down to 350, which is a great resolution for the parties. But just to make sure that it's understood, it wasn't us, it was somebody else, and we're approving what's been done. So that's my comment for the record.
Thank you.
Emily Bordello for the record, and echoing statements of the other senior DAG, we can start incorporating that into future orders as well.
Thank you. Okay. We have a first, a second, comments on the record, discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much.
Good luck to you.
Thank you all.
Thank you again.
Okay, that brings us to item number 8. That's a briefing from the chair. And I don't, other than welcoming our new executive director and wishing everybody, staff, industry, members of the public, a very merry holiday season. With that, we'll go on to item number 9, which is the next meeting date, which is scheduled right now for January 18th. I believe we have a building, and it should be here at the Gaming Control Board. But stay tuned. Just make sure you look at the agenda that comes out in case they kick us out. Hopefully they won't. I'll say this really loud. And don't kick us out, okay? Okay, so the items for future agendas, that's item number 10. Any items for future agendas for discussion only? Okay, we'll go on to item number 9, which is our last public comment. Any public comment in the South? I don't see any public comment in the South. Okay, what about in the North? Any public comment in Carson City? Okay, hearing none. Any online?
If you wish to provide public comment, click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. If joining by Zoom, if joining by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. Okay. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes. We have Sunflower Compassionate Company. Please state your name before providing your comment.
Hi, thank you. My name is Rachel Lee, and my company is Sunflower Compassionate Company. If you hear some noise in the background, please excuse the noise. I am at work. Welcome to the new executive director. I wanted to call in and briefly, I see it's 11 o'clock exactly, so I know I have 11:03. I want to talk about in regards to social equity applicants. So the CCB did create this program in regards to people who were impacted by the war on drugs or affected by these laws that decriminalize. So my question is, since we see that there is no one coming up, not my question, my statement is that since we see no one coming up as far as a prospective social equity applicant, could the CCB or some of the members or even the investigators check on them Because when I look at my situation, and I'll use my situation, I came in looking to speak in regards to something that I was learning, which was amyloid plaque and the buildup of plaque on the brain cells that could cause Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And with looking at this information and coming to the CCB, I eventually had a license landed in my lap. But no one cared to ask about mental health in the process that I went through in regards to even having these type of things happen to me, as far as mental health, as far as PTSD, bipolar depression, and all those things that accumulated in my life and time based on that I was denied so many rights and opportunities to do so many different things. One of the latest denials that took place in my life is the denial to be a part of an organization that I really admire, which is the CASA program. So when they checked my background, it says that I'm a drug trafficker. You know, thank God that I'm able to still make a wonderful play in people's lives who are mentally and physically disabled. Because if it wasn't for the opportunities, I don't know what type of opportunity that I would have. So if anything else, an extension would be very nice for those who are, at least if the CCB cannot come up with some type of idea to help the social equity people, at least given an extension so that way we can figure some things out, because what's happening here is people that are hoping to prey on the opportunity to eventually gain a percentage of the license and then eventually take over the license. And that's not what the program was built on. Thank you, and have a wonderful day, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Say bye, girl.
Okay, and with that, is there any additional comment online?
There is no additional online comment.
Okay. Thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and adjourn our December meeting. Thank you, everyone. And again, happy holidays.